And welcome to Soccer Today. Kevin Laramee, joined by Duane Rollins. As always, Duane, no intro today. I'm going to put them post-production. It's already 10:03, but last night, Duane, there was a soccer game in Montreal. Big victory, 3 in a row. But all everyone is talking about is not the victory, is not the goals, not the penalty, not the game, but the fact that Nacho Piatti, after the game, told the fans that were left in their seats at the PA announcer, as his man of the match press conference, saying, "Oh, this might be my last 10 games in Montreal, so I want to enjoy it to the max." That's why he's happy. And in hindsight, you look at the first goal celebration, comes running toward the president's stands with his hands cupping around his ears, listening to other offers. Yeah, seems like Piatti's negotiating, going.
Um, okay, I'm not sure if people remember a player by the name of Duane D. Rosario. I'm not sure if you remember that player, but anyway, if you do, there was a moment in TFC history where he scored a goal and then pretended to sign a check. Was this Montreal's check signing moment, Kevin?
A little more subtle, but it was. And after the game, in the locker room, Piatti answering question. And of course, nobody's talking about the chip. Nobody's talking about the goals. Everybody's talking about Nacho. So 10 games, eh? So you're going to leave? Are you negotiating? Nacho said, yes, I'm negotiating. It's out of my hands. It's between the president and my agent. And apparently, I'm doing all I can. We're doing all we can, but it's not going well. And this might be my last 10 games. What this seems to be to me is negotiating on the public forum, is letting the fans know where it is to put some pressure on the Montreal Impact. And knowing a little bit of the history of this club, the Montreal Impact, over the last few years, and how their spending habits, especially over the last maybe 8 to 10 months, well, they're probably a disagreement according to money, because look at Piatti's output and look at his salary. According to him, there's enough zeros, but it's the first digit at the beginning that needs to be a little higher.
Yeah, well, okay. Piatti is universally seen as perhaps the second, third, or fourth best player in Major League Soccer. That's Javinko is number one, in most people's neutral opinion. That's just not me, the Toronto guy, saying that's
Yeah,
where Piatti.
Villa, Javinko, Piatti, like same conversation.
Yeah, via Piatti, Javinko, like they're all kind of in the same sentence, right? So I'm sure that what he's looking for is, in the case of Javinko, he makes $7 million. So I'm sure Piatti is looking for something in the like $4, $5, $6 million range, because he thinks that represents his value. And it's hard for me to sit here and say it doesn't, because he has been that successful. He is that good. He is. It's remarkable, actually, Kevin. That
42 goals scored, Duane, for the Impact so far.
Yeah, and I think we in Canada are kind of spoiled a little bit when we look at the players that we have in this country. But at any rate, yeah. So it's hard to argue with him. I guess the only argument you could have is whether he should be bringing it up publicly and whether that's a distraction to the team, who has just won 3 games in a row, Kevin.
Yeah, and just won 3-0 last night. And a big victory. Montreal is now only 2 points behind Atlanta and Columbus in 5th and 6th position in the Eastern Conference, being the only game played last night, Montreal versus Chicago, 3-0 win. And we'll talk about the actual game a little later on. But when you look at this, Duane, we've been looking at sports a long time, right? The value of this player is not like he's a bargain in Major League Soccer as a DP.
Mm-hmm.
He is a bargain, and his value is higher. But the thing is, if you remember last year and a few months ago, we were told on multiple occasions that Piatti's contract is June 2018 that it finishes. But he mentioned the 10 games. 2 things. Either his contract expires after this year, and we were told a different thing. That's possible. The other possible thing is, if the Impact and Piatti don't come to an agreement for full next year, you have to either make a trade, a transfer. You have to get value back in a salary cap league. You can't just let Piatti go like this. So, well, if Montreal doesn't get an agreement in place with Nacho Piatti for the entirety of the 2018 season, I wouldn't be surprised. And that goes back to a few years ago. Remember, after a couple of weeks of Piatti says here, he was talking about, yeah, I want to come to North America. I want to come to Montreal. This could be a stepping stone for me. Then I can go to a big market like Miami. Remember those quotas? Remember that quote? Well,
Oh dear.
Miami might not make sense, but a place that speaks Spanish. LA, LAFC, Atlanta. There's a lot of possible destination for a Nacho Piatti in Major League Soccer if it's not Montreal.
No, well, yeah, a lot for sure. And, maybe Piatti is going to go. You said 10 games, right?
Well, this
I'm
season
wondering
plus
whether
the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
That's what it would mean. It's like an estimation, yeah.
No, for sure. And the thing I'm thinking of right now is because there's still a couple weeks left in the international transfer window, whether he might be trying to force a 2-game or 1-game situation out too. So that's the danger that the Impact really are facing spectacularly right now, as opposed to just losing him forever. But look, Joey has spent money. He spent money in Bologna, though. So this could be kind of a sort of a pushback on that as well. Like you've got an owner that says he can't afford the big DPs like TFC, but at the same time is buying teams in Italy. I can see as a player how that might push you the wrong way. But yeah,
granted,
really
Bologna cost I think less than the Impact or similar. I don't know. It was kind of a weird deal how it all happened because he didn't buy Bologna by himself. Like remember, Joey Saputo bought Bologna with a lawyer from New York, Tommaso, something like that. Tomasino or something like that. Anyways, I forget.
I'm just sort of thinking as a player though. Like as a player, you're going to look at that and go, "Oh, well, you can buy that, but you can't pay me, right?" Well, anyway,
that's where the celebration. You never see Piatti do something with his hands after celebration, right? And props to Dave Lévesque of the Journal de Montréal that looking back at what happened and then looking at his celebration, be like, yeah, this is not a coincidence. This was planned. Piatti's comments after the game, the way he mentioned them, the way they were phrased, those comments were premeditated. For sure. Like 2 goals, yeah, I'll take advantage of that tribune, that forum, to talk about my negotiation, and that's what it screams at me. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that Montreal. Everybody's talking about Piatti now. Never mind the 3 in a row. But he knew what he was doing.
Well, that's why I brought D-Row up at the top, right? Like, well, D-Row also, San Jose, that game immediately scored a minute later. So at least Montreal has that. But nonetheless, it screams the same way. Like you have a player that's a high-profile player that's frustrated, that takes it publicly. And how is it getting played in Montreal right now? Like, are people on Piatti's side or are they on the Impact side, Kevin?
Well, people are realizing it's a negotiation tactic, and they don't want to lose Piatti. They saw the MLS Players Union salary sheet. They saw his salary. Well, what's disclosed, anyways, and they kind of understand why he would want more money. And in our world of sports, you play good, you play very good, very well, you're bound to get a raise. And I don't think it's too much asked for Piatti to get a raise. I'm not in the negotiating room. I don't know the numbers. I don't know if it's terms of the contract, but Nacho Piatti said a few times during the MLS All-Star game to Spanish language media how he would like to stay still another 1 or 2 years in North America, going back to Argentina and finish his playing career. But Piatti's money-making years are now. It's now for him. And if you're looking at business-wise, Nacho Piatti is a brand. His agent is the CEO of that brand, and he has only a few contracts to monetize the value of the brand before. And Nacho Piatti made some decent money in Argentina. Let's not gonna lie. He's making more money since he's with the Impact. That's why it's one of the maybe last 2 contracts he'll ever signed, which is why he wants more money. And if you're not feeling the other side of the table's willingness to open the checkbook, and if you're looking at the Montreal Impact, the arrival of Blair and Zamali and others, and Nacho Piatti after his contract, I don't even know if he was in the plans of Montreal. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Now there's going to be an outcry, and now the public support for Nacho Piatti's new contract because they want him to stay. That's where everybody's agreeing is, well, I'll buy Saputo cheese for the rest of my life if I have to. Please, Joey, sign him again. That's the feeling on social media. So if they find a common territory to sign that contract, it would make a lot of sense. But yeah, he's putting the pressure on the other side of the negotiating table by telling people it's not going well. I think I'm worth more money. They're not willing to pay me that money, so maybe I'm leaving in 10 games. That's pretty much between the lines if you can read it. That's what was said last night.
No, fair enough. As I said earlier, I mean, if I'm objectively looking at MLS right now and I'm trying to rank Piatti, I'd probably put him third. He's the third best player in the league. I'd put Villa, Javenko ahead of him, everyone else behind him. So what's that make him worth? Does that make him worth $5 million? Does that make him worth $6 million? I don't know, but
over 1.5 though. Like
more,
that's what it is now.
Than.
So I would say three. Between 3 and 5, whatever makes the two parties happy, whatever it's possible. With it's a DP contract, so it doesn't matter. But whatever is possible, I think between 3 and 5 is legitimate. Over 5 is just a question maybe of over evaluating certain players and how a DP is worth in this league. But between 3 and 5, I think is fair game.
And who would complain about that? I mean, no one. It's just money, I guess. It's not our money, so there's that. So can the Impact afford that? There's the question. Have the Impact reacted to this? Not yet, but
Mauro Biello said at the his presser after, saying like, I know they're negotiating. We'll leave this outside. I'll take care of the field, and Nacho's amazing on the field. But so that tells you the coach's position where he might not want to lose his best player. So,
which is the right answer for Biello, right? I mean, there's no other answer to give. He can't go, sign him now because then he might get fired because who says that? Or he can't say, screw you, Piatti, because then his player might stop performing because he might not care. So there's no good answer for Biello, but he gave the best he could. Kevin, let me ask you a question. If Piatti leaves, what will that mean to Impact fans? Will they push back in a way that hurts the Impact, the business aspect of the Impact, or will they just move on because they realize that this is just a sport like any other sport, and this is a sport just like it is the rest of the world, where your players might leave occasionally if they can get more money?
Well, if he goes to Columbus for the same salary, there's going to be public outcry. There's going to be some season tickets being canceled and all that. If Nacho leaves, just to go back to Argentina, something that Montreal can't compete with, the fact that it's his own country and nothing to do with salary, that it's the rest. Well, be it best of luck in your future endeavor, and all will be well and good. If he's sold for good assets and Montreal gets something out of it, then I don't think there's going to be an outcry as well. It depends how it continues to go from now on. But if Piatti gets, I don't know, like a $10 million contract in Toronto, Montreal won't feel bad because they'll be like, well, we couldn't pay him that anyways. So there'll be an understanding of, we're not that big of a club yet. And, well, we lost our player to a bigger checkbook. That could be possible.
If Piatti gets a $10 million contract in Toronto, the UMO2 is going to burn Stade Saputo down. Like that's not kid ourselves. But
yes, but I mean, on the business side of things, people will understand that decision. There won't be any ill will or ill feeling towards Piatti. If he leaves for the same contract for Columbus, there'll be ill feelings towards Piatti, ill feelings towards Saputo, ill feelings towards Adam Braz, Dick DeSantis. Everyone will be mad if he leaves for a situation that's a little more understanding. Like he gets a $5-6 million contract with LA, and LA gives us some one player and a couple of draft picks. Well, maybe it's a win for everyone. Depends where the short-term plans for the Impact starting next year will go. We're looking at a transition period for the Montreal Impact this offseason. A lot of players are at the end of their contract, at the end of their stint, probably with the Impact too. So it all depends where this offseason goes. If Piatti leaves and you bring in, I don't know, a Griezmann, I'm exaggerating, but it's just to explain my position. Well, everybody will forget about Piatti. It's all about how it's dealt with at that moment.
Fair enough. Should we take a break and then maybe
Yep.
actually talk about the result?
Let's do that. Let's take a quick break and come back about the 3-0 victory of the Montreal Impact against Bastien and the Fire last night.
You are listening to Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
And we are back on Soccer Today. Duane Rollins with myself, Kevin Laramee. The Montreal Impact, Duane, there's never a dull moment in Major League Soccer, especially in Montreal. And last night, the first half was anything but dull. Wow, 3 goals in just a few minutes, and Montreal had a 3-goal lead and never looked back. But Piatti, Duane, we've talked about how negotiations and like tactics, but it's a lot easier when you score goals.
Well, no, for sure. I mean, Piatti off the field is one thing, but Piatti on the field was clearly an amazing performance last night. 3-0. And, first off, Kevin, as a Torontonian, as a TFC guy, I just want to thank the Impact for that. But beyond that, it had to be something that had to be reassuring to Impact fans that have been a little frustrated this year. Are the Impact there? Are they a playoff team right now? That's my question to you.
Well, during the conversation now, we mentioned 2 weeks ago, they needed 3 in a row. After 3 in a row, they would be, because of Atlanta's schedule and Columbus's schedule, they would be only 2 points behind 5th and 6th position with games in hands against Columbus, and it is a little bit easier schedule down the road than Columbus. So we were saying if 3 in a row during the conversation, they're 7th during the conversation. But I think they're even in a better position than Columbus right now with games at home. Yeah, it's 3 games in 8 days for the Impact. Last Saturday against Philly, last night against Chicago, and Saturday at home against RSL again. But it's not an easy schedule when you look at it game-wise in a short period of time. But Montreal are playing more games at home, and Stade Saputo is becoming once again a fortress. It was interesting to talk to Samuel Piatti last night after the game, his first start for the Impact at home. And yes, he was nervous before the game, but he felt like the fortress of Stade Saputo. He was talking about the atmosphere, the energy, and how last few times, well, it's the second time he played it this year. He played with Curaçao. And I have a question for you, the one that I asked Samuel Piatti. I'll talk about it after, and
okay.
You'll be happy to hear about it. But you're talking about like that fortress in Stade Saputo. Results at home are changing the game now. When Montreal got 2 wins on the road, a few draws, so the situation is not fixed because it wasn't necessarily broken to begin with. We were a little quick on the panic button, and we should remember it's MLS. But they came really close. They won at their last possible moment to get hot. Right, they got hot when it was really needed, and now they are a contender. Like, I feel they are maybe the only one left not above the red line that could make the playoff. Below them, Orlando and company, they're getting to be a little bit far now.
Just checking some. Sorry, Whitecaps fans, but anyway, no. Look, the Impact are dangerous right now, in my opinion. As an outside perspective, I think that they are the one team, you're correct, that are below the red line that you look at and you go, they could be the Seattle Sounders of 2017. If they make the playoffs, no one is going to want to play them. Can they make the playoffs? That's a different question altogether. And I think that certainly the game on Saturday, but I think more than that, the game on the 24th. Who do they play the 24th? Do you remember, Kevin? I'm not sure.
On the 27th, you mean? The Sunday at 4:30 p.m.?
So yeah.
It's Toronto in Montreal.
Oh.
The first game between the two in the league this year. Like, isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
It's it'll be almost September. Like, geez.
I was watching El Clasico yesterday. El Clasico, one of 15 that are going to happen this year, because it seems like they play all the time, which is kind of like TFC in Montreal. And they were promoting the rivalry, and the one rivalry that they kept bringing up was Toronto and Montreal, which I thought was kind of interesting.
By the way, you were watching ESPN. Yeah, you have to mention it. It's not on TSN, because we would expect to see that promo on TSN. On ESPN, yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, they kept like 4 or 5 times they kept flashing it up, which is like, oh yeah, these are equatable rivalries in the world of football, right there, absolutely the same.
Oh, we
Anyway,
always said they were, Duane. We've been talking about this for years. The Montreal and Toronto soccer rivalry is the most underrated in North America.
In MLS, screw the Cascadia Derby. The Classique is the one to go. And well, that's the question too. I was a few Montreal fans got really angry at someone calling it 401 Derby yesterday. So I said that my preference is the Canadian Classic, or the Classique is what I would call it. So let us know what you think the best name for this derby is.
The THE and Classic QUE. So you have like the French and English versions.
Exactly. That was my point. Yeah, English first word, French last word, or you can go French first word, English last word. You have Canadian Classic, but whatever. Yeah,
the Classic A instead of the Classico EH at the end.
Classic A. I haven't heard that one, but that's good. That's a good one too. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, the Impact and TFC are going to have a moment again this year, regardless of whether it happens in the playoffs or not. And the other part of it too, Kevin, is if the Impacts do make the playoffs, they're going to finish probably sixth. And that means if they win their away one-game knockout game, they're probably going to play TFC in the second round. So maybe we're going to have more time. Oh, God.
In a home and away series, just at like 2 weeks, like a week after playing the end of the season together against each other again. So, no, it's, the end of the Eastern Conference season, at least for us, it's looking like Montreal, Toronto. Not 1-2 this time, but they're facing each other. Like, that's the thing, though. It's been, a few years now that at least 2 games in the last month of the season is against Toronto. So I am looking forward to it. Like, I've seen Toronto play a lot this year, but it's been a while. I feel like I haven't seen them against each other, right? And long ago seems a Canadian Championship, and now kind of looking forward to those regular season games between the two teams, and they're going to be meaningful, especially for Montreal, because it's coming soon. What if Montreal gets a result against RSL? What if Montreal wins on Saturday, 4 in a row? Then they have Toronto for that fifth. Sorry.
Well, there's going to be a pump up, and there's going to be a lot of Torontonians there, and it's going to be one of those games. And we all love that situation. Just quickly, Kevin, if Montreal fans are having difficulty remembering the last time they faced TFC, I'm just going to remind them. The last time they faced TFC, it was in the Canadian Championship, and I think there was a goal really late that may have won a trophy. I'm just going to remind them of that.
Yeah, I was there in Toronto. Saw some damn fireworks and celebration. I was stuck next to the pitch, couldn't get to talk to Biello, or I was stuck talking to Javinko and Bradley.
Well, were they happy? Were they happy that day?
Is Javinko ever happy? Like, I don't know. I can't tell. Looking at his face, he never looks happy. Bradley, yeah, he was happy. Josie was happy.
He runs to inebriati when he scores, and he seems happy then. So there you go. But at any rate, no, look, everything comes up Toronto-Montreal. This is the best rivalry in Major League Soccer. There is absolutely no doubt about it. I am excited. I'm shaking right now thinking about that game in 2 weeks, and I wasn't a week or so ago, and it's all because the Impact are making it matter. And if you get me in a quiet, delicate moment, I will admit that the reason this rivalry matters and is so fun right now is because the Impact are decent too, and I don't mind the Impact, but it's so fun to beat them as a Torontonian. It's so fun to beat any Canadian opponent as a Torontonian, because you all hate us so much, and it's so fun to beat you. Sorry.
Well, Duane, it's the same here too, right? If you go back to the playoff run last year, the Montreal-Toronto game was very interesting, and the Montreal had a result at home, and that goal that was costly, but it was as well the year before the playoffs and all the great runs, and the arms are race of arms. What's that term? Like the race of arms, yeah, the race of arms that Montreal and Toronto did.
Arms race, yeah.
Arms race, yeah. Where Toronto won that arms race when they got their nuclear deterrent called Juvenco, and with Bradley and Altidore, it's been a different story since then. But before that, Montreal was the team regarded with the biggest weapons. If you're looking at the drug, was the Devios and the Piatti at that point. So no, it is interesting, and you're right. This rivalry is better because both teams are relevant in the Eastern Conference. Montreal was never as terrible as 11th in the Eastern Conference. We always said it. We always mentioned it that on paper, this team, if it finds a way to just put a few wins together. And now it's more than a few wins together. I mean, it's been a month and a half, 2 months that, yeah, they didn't string results, but they found ways to get points. They found ways to climb that standings. And luckily enough, they're in the Eastern Conference where DC is terrible. So you are not going to be, anyway, 11th in the Eastern Conference. So at least Montreal got the right point, right results. Now they're back to where maybe we saw them all along, between 5th and 7th, in the lower part of it. But Saturday, they have a chance to climb all the way up to 5th. So I am confident for the Impact and the way they're playing right now, the way Piatti's playing. And look, if Piatti's negotiation tactics and the fact that he's negotiating is making him perform even even more, don't sign him yet. Wait until like 2 games to go. Then sign him, which means you'll have 8 other games of him scoring goals and braces and asking for more money, which is all well and good, and that's what it's all about. Win games.
All right, let me go deep in the psyche of a fan right now, and I'm going to fully admit something. If this season, if TFC goes on to win the MLS Cup this season, which is not a ridiculous concept, they could win the Shield, they could win the treble. I think that if you go deep, deep, deep within the psyche of the average TFC fan, a lot of them will still say the highlight of the season was when Javinko scored that goal that I mentioned a minute ago to beat Montreal in the Canadian Championship. So let me turn that table on you a little bit, because the rivalry matters, and it was just an awesome moment as a TFC person. If Toronto were to finish first and Montreal were to squeak in the playoffs at 6 and win that knockout game and play Toronto in the second round, and then let's just speculate for a second, Kevin. And if the Impact were to knock off Big Bad Toronto in that second round, would that be a bigger moment to Impact fans than even winning the MLS Cup? Is the rivalry that way to them too?
No, but if you don't win the MLS Cup, that's what you'll remember. It's never bigger than a trophy, but it's enough to console yourselves if you don't have that trophy. There's nothing bigger than winning the cup. It's what it's all about, no? It's that trophy. It's winning that trophy. It's the ultimate goal. It's like when you put your cleats on the first day of training camp, the ultimate goal, like your visualization process, Duane, that you're doing as a player and your mental training, you don't see yourself beating Toronto. You see yourself winning the cup. It's about winning the cup, but it's a good consolation prize if they beat Toronto.
All right, which begs the question, why isn't there a cup? There's a cup between Toronto and Columbus. Why is there not a cup between Montreal and Toronto?
A piece of the road. It should be like a piece of road that's like maybe like 1.5 feet long. Half of it is like pristine, straight, no bumps, nothing. And half of it is like crippled, falling apart, crumbling. And that's the Quebec part. And you have the Ontario part. And you have the 401 piece of asphalt.
There you go. Yeah, I'm thinking of when you're driving down the 20, there's this, it's not quite a Dairy Queen, but
not
it's
the Big
like
Apple.
A dairy. Yeah, it's a little weird. When you get in that little area between Cornwall and Montreal, there's a weird stretch of highway there. But if anyone's never driven it before, that something in there, some of the businesses there, that has to be what the trophy is. I think we should crowdfund this. I think we should start a crowdfunder to actually buy a trophy for the Montreal-Toronto derby. What do you think about that, Kevin?
Okay. And it will be the Two Solitudes Derby, because that's the like official name that has taken over the last 2 years. Let's put it this way. What kind of trophy should it be, though? You want to crowdfund this? Okay, let's put that. Let's for a minute or two so left. What should it be? I was joking when I was talking to the asphalt, but what could it be? Like, okay, what represents Montreal? Well, Quebec and Ontario, Montreal, Toronto, Upper, Lower Canada. What should it be?
Does anyone out there have like a 20-year-old referendum sign left that one that's both yes and no? Like, do we have one of those? Like, or so we and no? Do we have any?
You have to go political.
Any of those that would work. Something like that. Maybe like a split jersey between the Leafs and the Habs, something like that. I don't know. Let us know, listeners.
A can of Coke and a can of Pepsi.
But I prefer Pepsi. That doesn't make sense. Anyway.
I know, but it's not about you, Duane. It's about the red and the blue. I don't know. Maybe you have a Tim Hortons cup and, I don't know, a Dunkin' Donuts cup. That's a reference that people won't get. But back in my day, back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, there was no such things as Tim Hortons at every corner in Quebec. There was one or two everywhere, like in the entire province. There was one like in Terrebonne. When I used to be a kid, I used to go to that one, and it was like an old school Tim Hortons with actual pictures of Tim Hortons on the walls. And I was like, why do we have a player with like a Toronto
The
jersey
Leafs.
here? Yeah, like what the fuck? That's because I was a kid. But we used to go to Dunkin' Donuts here. So let's have like a Dunkin' Donuts cup if we can find one. A Tim Hortons cup on the other side. And it's a two solitudes meeting in the middle with a Starbucks cup. I don't know.
I know what this is my final suggestion. It's going to be an Ottawa Senators fan going, but I'm real too.
But
yelling.
I'm here.
That will be what the trophy is. Anyway, so that's crowdsource this. And let us know what you think the two solitudes or the Classique or the Canadian Classic, whatever you want to call it. What should the trophy look like? Let us know.
And maybe we can make one, or maybe we can buy one. We'll see what we can do.
All right, fair enough.
All right, you can follow Duane on Twitter, as always, at 24th Minute, and myself at Kev Laramee. The French version of Off the Woodwork, Sur la Transversale, will be recorded in about 20-30 minutes. So if you are listening live, you'll have a bonus French show coming up very soon. And as always, until tomorrow, I'm Kevin Laramee, and for Duane Rollins, have a great soccer. You were listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us, sportspodcastingnetwork.com.